I just had a theme song in my head this morning, so I want to play it for you real quick. Ready? I need to share my screen and share my sound. I did. And YouTube. Ready?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We need some help from you now. Come on, Scooby-Doo, I see you, pretending you got a sliver. You're not fooling me, 'cause I can see the way you shake and shiver. You know we got a mystery to solve, so Scooby-Doo, be ready for your act. Don't hold back, and Scooby-Doo, if you come through, you're gonna have yourself a Scooby snack. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, here are you. You're ready and you're willing. If we can count on you, Scooby-Doo, I know we'll catch that feeling.
Okay, I lost it this morning, sorry. But the fog in the morning, it's like driving around in the mystery van and there's something that just popped up in my head. So oh boy. So that song, and then the song I played prior to this was called Shift Work from Kenny Chesney. And Otis, I think we need to just be resigned to the fact that we're going to be dealing with shift working between now and the rest of the year.
Absolutely.
This is Friday,
A
December.
lot of business and a lot of new realtors. So that definitely gums it up when they're not trained properly.
But the 3 Ds, death, debt, and divorce, are still relevant. My masseuse, I found out, because I talked to people, has not made her mortgage payment in 3 years. And it's a relatively new home that they built. But whatever happened, their bank's been very kind to them. But now they're saying, hey, pay up.
Right.
And they're over it. They bought an RV. They saved them. They had the money to make the payments. Why they didn't do it, I have no idea. But they bought a 5th wheel and they're going to go travel around and do stuff, and they don't want the house anymore. So I'm getting an OfferPad offer for them. Right. But time is of the essence for them. They're going to lose this house if they don't act. Right. And they got their payoff from the bank and it's like 370, and Zillow says it's worth 400, and they don't care about making any money because they live there for 3 years for free. So OfferPad is a great solution, right? And we're aware of OfferPad. And if that, we put it on the open market, that's how much time we have. So we'll figure it out. But those events are still going to happen, right? So I don't care if you're going to the car wash or the grocery store. If you talk to people and find out what's going on in their lives, you'll find something.
Yeah.
Right. So the shift work song, I don't know if you all heard that, but 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7 type of thing. You know, let's just pick the days we're going to work and work those days. And the days we're not going to work, take the pressure off yourself, turn yourself off, don't answer your phone, and don't work. But there's got to be a balance between this and that, because this is December 10th. New Year's is December 31st, New Year's Eve. So that's 21 days, which is 3 weeks. And there is going to be work happening, but you've got to reach out and talk to people, even if you're stocking the bond for next year. So I just want to get that part out of there for now. Good. Okay, Otis, you and I spoke last night. We had a bunch of contract related terms we're going to talk about. But one thing that you brought up last night, you said preventative maintenance.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that or not, but that's kind of the theme for today, right? Because we're going to break into, in the end, the critical date timeline. But preventative maintenance is what we're really talking about. Okay. So single agent transaction broker, I don't care what you are. As we start the negotiations, I'm on my side, you're on your side. Once the contract gets executed, we become a team.
That's correct.
And we're going to bring this plane in for our landing, right? That's the ultimate goal. So a lot of the challenges we've had, I'm dealing with now with agents are, I don't want to say less than sincere, but it's lack of willingness to just fully disclose. It's almost like we're hiding something in the background that we hope you miss, and then we're going to pounce on you for it.
Correct.
Right? But what happens in my experience is when people feel they're pushed or taken advantage of, they march up and then they lawyer up. And once you lawyer up, there's not a solution. And I don't want to sound like a wimp here in any way, shape, or form, but you don't win when the lawyers get involved. Case in point, the one I was talking to you about last night. Buyer needed an extension to the closing date. So we extended the closing date. Now, when you extend the closing date, what does not automatically get extended?
Financing contingency and other contingencies.
The loan approval, anything else. If you extend the closing date, you extend the closing date. So we laid in the grass, if you will, and said, hold on. We're going to extend the closing date, but we're going to lay in the grass and whisper, but we're not going to tell you that we're not extending the loan approval period.
Mhm.
Okay. So lo and behold, the buyer gets denied. Buyer gets denied because at the end of the second extension, they find out they had a foreclosure they didn't report. That shit should have been found out day one.
I agree.
Did you remember when you got foreclosed on? I've never been foreclosed on in either of you, but I think it'd be a memorable event
Yeah.
that I'd probably tell my loan officer about.
Yeah, there's a system there, quite a few letters, you get served. There's a few things that happen that would jog your memory.
Yeah, it's a public record too. So they got denied, and now they want their $10,000 deposit back. And our agent is dead on right. Stake in the ground. You didn't extend your loan approval period, which means your financing contingency expired way back when. We extended your closing date. You can't get financing. We're keeping your $10,000. Two problems happen there. And this is just the way it is. One, the seller thinks he's getting $10,000. He's not entitled to $10,000. What's he entitled to?
His portion of the commission after the escrow is divvied up between us and him.
Our listing agreement says 50% of retained deposits go to the broker.
That's right.
And then the contract says the 50% the broker keeps, he's got to split with the other agent.
Mhm.
So what's the proper is the seller gets $5,000, we get 2,500, and the buyer's agent gets 2,500.
Mhm.
So the buyer requests their $10,000 back, and our agent's like, no, we purposely didn't extend the loan approval period. So you are out of contract, and you're losing your 10 grand. Buyer's losing 10 grand, right? Seller's only going to get 5 grand, but the buyer's losing 10.
I would say
So
there's a lack of awareness by the buyer's agent.
the buyer's agent screwed up 100%, which is going to lead us into the critical date timeline as a tool for everybody to not get in this bind.
Mhm.
But I still think preventative maintenance, what I would have done in hindsight is said, buyer and seller agree the closing date shall be extended to point in the future, and the loan approval date remains the same,
Mhm.
right? If you put that up front, at least we're going to argue about it now, not later.
Right.
Because if they were not willing to waive their financing, I probably would not have given the extension. So we assumed they were waiving their financing period, but we didn't call it out.
Mhm.
And then that agent calls her broker, and her broker calls me, and we discuss, and the broker puts his guilt trip on me. Oh, if we have to do an escrow disbursement order, the FREC's going to come in, they're going to audit these files. It's going to, I go, dude, no. There's no escrow disbursement order. That's when a broker holds escrow. We're not holding escrow. You and I have nothing to do with this. The title company is the escrow agent. And I do know that title company. It's not ours, but they will sit on that deposit till the cows come home. And if you pressure them, they'll throw it to a judge for an interpleader, and that'll cost $1,500. And the judge is going to say, sorry. Well, it depends. Here's what happens. The real story. The judge is going to say, depending on the mood he's in or she's in that day, that's unjust enrichment. The poor buyer, give him his deposit back. That could be an outcome that the judge comes up with. Or the judge could read the contract and say, screw you. You didn't extend your loan approval period. You're done. Deposit goes to the seller. You want to flip a coin on that one?
Mhm.
Which one's going to go?
Yeah. Right.
I have no idea, right? So now we spend $1,500 of the 10,000. We go to interpleader. A judge is going to have a hormonal day, and they're going to pick one thing or the other. And that's going to be the answer. And whoever loses is going to pay the fee, and whatever gets left over gets left over. So either party could win, either party could lose. Who's going to gamble? Or I went to the broker and said, look, here's what I do in these situations. And he's 30 years in the business too. I don't think he's had the experience that I've had. But I said, what I generally do in this situation is encourage the card parties to split the deposit, just $5,000 to the buyer, $5,000 to the seller. I'll waive mine if you'll waive yours. He goes, I'll waive mine. I said, okay, cool. This way the seller's enriched. He gets everything he's supposed to do and your buyer only loses half. And he's like, well, you know, we're not sure that's right. Would the seller take 2,500? I said, no, the seller will take a half. And 30 minutes later, there's an escrow to release sign and a cancellation of contract. The house is back on the market. It's probably under contract by now. Right. But that whole preventative maintenance thing, I think, especially in times like this, be forthright and put it up. Don't hide it.
Right.
Buyer and seller agreed the closing date shall be extended and the loan approval period remains the same. And then the buyer's agent should say, well, wait a minute, we need to extend that too. Oh, no, if you want to extend that too, no, we're going to cancel the deal and move on. We've already given you 30 days. You've wasted 30 days of my life. But we push that issue down the road. And it's just, and that happens all the time. Right. That's why I like monumentalizing, memorializing, putting trigger events. When something's due, have a triggered event happen. Right. As consideration for said extension, buyer shall put an additional $5,000 deposit. Oh, right. We forget. This is my arm wrestling move, right? This is the power we have as the listing agent. You have all the gold and you can make anything happen that you want.
There's so much leverage in this market as a listing agent.
Make them leverage your relationship and protect the deal. And we're not hurting a party. We're just committing them to do what they said they're going to do. You said you wanted the house. We want to sell the house. We've got a contract. Let's work together, put some meat behind it. You know, I like your term, preventative maintenance.
Yeah, I've been using preventative maintenance as a term for a while now. I mean, when you think about preventative maintenance, it comes in many forms. Changing your oil, rotating your tires, that's preventative maintenance for your car. When you look at our profession here in real estate, if the contract is the rules of the agreement, and you got to know what the rules of the agreement are. And if someone doesn't know what the rules of the agreement are, how they can, first of all, how can you consider yourself a pro? Secondly, when you understand the rules of the agreement, then you understand how you have to navigate within those rules of the agreement. And the preventative maintenance comes in not only from the beginning of the listing process, when you talk about possibly a pre-love certified home, that's preventative maintenance, right? You're preventing the preventative maintenance there is the value of the home. You're making sure you're getting the most value you can. When you look at the contract and you do the critical date timeline, you're creating preventative maintenance solutions for when the escrows due, when the appraisals due, when the inspections due, and financing contingency. You know what those are. And so you need to know that if there's an extension, whatever contingencies in play, preventative maintenance will allow you to either extend it or get out of the contract, but you're not hurting, especially your client.
Exactly. Which is why I say we're opposing forces during the negotiations. But once the negotiations are done and we have a contract, we become aligned and we're working in the same direction to just uphold the terms of the contract.
Correct.
Right? That's all it really is. So, all right, we got a couple more case studies I want to get into before we get to the main topic here. I'm going to have to peek into my inbox because they're all color coded because I'm a dork.
And while you're doing that, one of the very first steps of preventative maintenance is making sure that the escrow deposit is turned in on time. If it's not turned in on time, it doesn't mean the contract just goes away and it's canceled. That's breach of contract. And you can still be sued for that escrow. If you never even turned it in, you can still be sued for the escrow.
Well, not you, your buyer.
Your buyer, yeah.
Buyer
the party of the buyer's party can be sued.
And it's RC, and that's where a critical date timeline comes in. If you spend the diligence and calendar those items, hey buyer, your additional deposit is due in 3 days. Your initial deposit is due in 3 days. Your additional deposit is due the day after the inspection period. Ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
I pay attention to my calendar alerts when they go off.
Yeah, and also just knowledge and awareness. Take a look at the calendar. We've got a couple of holidays coming up right in front of us that will just interrupt 2 weeks in a row. And that's pretty big. You know, you got to make sure you understand that. And you also have to understand that most underwriters most mortgage people and a great deal of title people, they've saved up their PTO, their paid time off, their vacation days for the end of the year. So most companies are dealing with a skeleton crew for the case of the holidays.
Good. That's a
And-
brilliant point. And
Yeah.
we're going to be busy as a one-arm paper hanger.
That's right.
And FedEx is behind, and UPS is behind, and Amazon's behind, and the grocery store's out of stuff.
Surveys are behind, lien searches are behind, all that stuff is behind. And then you hit to the holidays, it grinds. It's just a grind.
But please don't heed our advice. Always schedule your closing for the last day of the month, because it's really easier for the buyer to save that $32 in prepaid interest and just ensure they have a shitty experience.
Yeah, awareness
That's
is
the part
going.
when I
That's
tell them
gonna be
not to
very
do it,
busy
so I'm
Friday,
going to tell everybody to do it now, and maybe they won't do that anymore.
right?
But I could go show you right now. I bet we have 150 closings scheduled for 12/31. Oh, which is a holiday. It's
Which
New
is
Year's
fine.
Eve.
And it's a Saturday. Pretty sure it's a Saturday. Hang on.
John, that's an interesting question. If the broker declines his half, and yeah, I believe the contract says if the listing broker retains any deposit, he has to share it with the other broker. So if I waived it, I didn't get any, I don't have to share it. But then, yeah, I could be. They take me to the ethics board, and then what? I got to pay $150. I got to sit in front of an arbitration panel. And there's a bunch of my peers say, well, you really should have consulted, because we're supposed to be friends with our cooperating brokers, right? So what's the panel at the arbitration committee going to say? Because I've got 8 of these frigging attitudes going on right now, just so you know. Right? What's the temperature of the arbitration panel? Here's this big broker taking advantage of a little broker.
Yeah.
That could be one temperature, or it could be, no, the broker didn't get anything. You don't get anything either, depending on the mood of the panel. So that's all, who knows? There are no black and whites. Everybody's looking for black and white. It's all gray.
Say,
All gray. Okay, so I'm hearing a lot of confusion, and I'm going to keep talking about these things until y'all get it. Here's an agent talking to their insurance agent, copying me. Attached are the current inspection reports you requested for a quote on homeowners and flood insurance. I also attached my seller's current flood quote, and they've confirmed it is transferable to the new buyers. Thank you for your valuable insight regarding purchasing properties with new insurance regulations on the islands. My seller is concerned about not being able to secure any offers on this waterfront property if insurance quotes are continuing to rise and any creative conventional loan within this property's price point cannot be obtained. I will confer with the seller and broker for more options. Okay, so what's she talking about there?
rising cost of insurance. And
Yeah.
how that's going to be the rising cost of a monthly payment or whatever the case may be, carrying cost for that particular property.
Which is a qualification factor. So I'm going to tell you what I've learned. The National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP insurance policies are continuing. They are stripping the subsidies away over time, and you can expect an 18% per year increase to your current NFIP. I'm talking about flood insurance, properties in a flood zone that are not built to current standards. If you're in a flood zone, you're built to current standards, you're going to be fine because there's a third-party carrier that's going to cover you. But if a third-party carrier won't cover you, your last resort is NFIP,
Right.
called Right Insurance. So NFIP, so my policy right now is $989 a year. So next year it's going to be 18% more. Not a big deal. It's $1,180. I can afford that. But next year it's going to be $1,290. And then it's going to be up 18%, until it gets to my actuarial rate is going to be $10,000 a year. It's going to take me 8 or 10 years to get there, but I'm going to end up with a $10,000 a year flood insurance bill. Do you think a buyer should know that?
Yes.
So I sell my house and a buyer assumes my NFIP policy, and they're going to be subject to increases until it reaches $10,000. That's what it's going to cost, because I know that because I went to NFIP and I found out. And I presume a buyer is going to do that too. When you were talking about preventative maintenance today,
Mhm.
and the contract has a clause that says flood insurance. The buyer has 20 days to assess their flood insurance, which is in the critical day timeline as a reminder. So we don't forget about that.
Mhm.
And then they do it. And then day 18, they say, oh shit, I didn't realize the flood insurance on this house is going to be $10,000 in 8 years. I don't want to pay that much money. I'm canceling the contract.
Yeah.
So if we don't do the preventative maintenance, I'd rather a contract die. I'd rather a contract not be written than written and canceled. Right?
I agree.
So I think it's incumbent upon us as listing agents to identify the potential pitfalls. That's what I'm doing with the project I'm working on. I've got the engineers talking to NFIP to find out what it's going to take to build a house that's going to have reasonable insurance.
Yeah.
And it's simple things. It's like right now, the current code in the past was your mechanicals had to be at base flood elevation, which in my case is 12 feet. But my finished first floor is at 17.8 feet. So under the new code, my mechanicals have to be at 17.8 feet. So if they're down at 12, I'm not going to qualify, but if I'm up at 17.8, so if I'm building a new house, I'm going to put the brackets up higher on the wall. Yeah, I'm sorry, AC man's going to take a ladder to get up there, but at least my flood insurance is going to be $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
So there's things you can do to mitigate when you look at preventative maintenance.
Another example, I just had a listing not long ago. The roof was original roof built 2001 on this particular one. So we're looking at 20 years. And so we knew that, this house is definitely going to sell. It's a great house, but that's going to come up in the inspection. We know it's going to come up in the inspection. So we went ahead and had the roof certified and had a roofer out there just to see what the cost of a brand new roof would be. And then
Love it.
yeah, we then talked to the seller. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is we're gonna just put it on the market. We know that most likely they're gonna bring this up in the inspection, so we should have an allowance in the back of our head that we will put towards, and they can either get the roof themselves with their own money and their own roofer, or it would really, we're just trying to not have to do that job ourselves. But once we have a bid and we know exactly how much it would be, we have a negotiation point when it does come up, so we don't let them out of the contract. We got them still locked in. And then
Well, that's what it is. It's preventative maintenance. You know it's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, it's a really, really good chance it's going to happen. If it comes up, hey, here you go. This is what we got for you.
But
And if
you
it doesn't come up,
basically inoculated the seller.
yeah,
Hey, here's a little injection of it. Here's what's going to come. Let's give you a little dose of it now. And let's be prepared, because there's nothing wrong with, let's say the house is 350
right.
with its old roof, and a new roof is going to be 12 grand.
Yeah,
Well, I'd pay 362 for a house with a new roof, and I wouldn't have to use my cash to do it, because maybe I don't have an extra 12 grand after I just made my down payment.
mm-hmm.
Right? So those are all negotiation points. So put it on the market as is with the current roof at 350. And if the buyer wants a new roof, it'll be 362. That's preventative maintenance. It's putting it out there up front.
Yeah.
It's just like I tell everybody with an as is contract. Fine, ask for repairs.
Mhm.
I'll do the repairs, but I'm gonna add it to the price of the house, because when I negotiated with you in good faith, I said I'll accept 350 as is, meaning I don't have to dip into my pocket to get the other cash. But now you're telling me I got to dip into that's not what we agreed to.
Right.
That's my position on it anyway. Cool. All right. So back to the insurance question. This is great. Our agent went to their insurance go-to and said, what's it going to cost to do this? And then you have to have the conversation, Otis, you just had with the seller and say, oh shit, here's where we're at. Insurance carriers are pulling out of Florida because there's a lot of roof fraud going on right now. And your roof is not new enough to make the house very insurable. So your buyer is going to get an inspection, they're going to get insurance quotes, and they're going to find out that their house is not insurable, or it's going to be insured at a very high rate. And they're going to potentially cancel because of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my go-to insurance person, and I'm going to get quotes so we can market the fact of what it's going to cost to insure this house for flood or hazard insurance. Because hazard insurance is as important right now. What are the things they're looking for?
The life expectancy, first of
4
all.
points.
Oh yeah, for a 4 point, yeah, it's gonna be insurance, I'm sorry, HVAC, plumbing, electric and roof.
Right, those four things. And if they're old, you're gonna get hung out because the insurance company saying, screw it. And
then
that's
there's
not a major
labor.
problem because another insurance company will come in and says, hey, we need policy premiums. So they'll
Yeah.
come from another market and spread their risk over here. But the ones that are heavily invested in here now, they're going, boop, canceling policy.
Well, and we as professionals in the industry have to understand also that that's always changing as well, and we have to continually educate ourselves to what the new policies would be, what the new standards would be. I know that in addition to the 4 point inspection, what I found with this is 4 point inspection is one thing. You can say I have X amount of life expectancy left, but if that number is still at a certain age, then you need a roof certification.
Yep.
And that would allow you to still get the insurance. If you got the roof certification, we knew we can, kind of force it. No, you can get insurance. We know you can, but we also wanted to just kind of sweeten it on that particular deal where we didn't let anyone out of it. So we also got the bid on what a new roof would be. And then there's no arbitrary numbers being thrown out because the first thing the buyer's agent said was, "Whoa, a whole new roof. We're going to probably need like 20 grand." And I'm like, "Well, we got a roof bid and it's at 14. So here, I'll go ahead and send it over to you." Now
Right.
we've got absolutes. We have numbers that we're going to do, not guessing.
It's
Not
preventative maintenance. Maintenance. It's maintenance. Once you have a contract signed, you're in maintenance mode.
Yeah.
And there's these issues are these issues are going to come up, or else you're dealing with a moron on the other side, which means you'll get sued later and it's going to come up. So
Yeah.
you're not going to avoid it. My mom said some mortgage companies will not provide a mortgage unless the roof is new enough. Yeah, it's like 10 years now, which is insane because
I agree with her. And that's where the roof certification can come into play if you're jammed up, because they're always going to go by the age of the roof first. And then if you get it certified, then it's a new life expectancy opinion by a professional, licensed professional.
I've learned a lot about roofs because I'm waiting for a roof now. My roof tile is on back order for 4 months.
Wow.
So I've got 2 big blue tarps and about 40 sandbags on my roof, holding the tarps down so it doesn't leak any more than it's already been leaking. And what they did back in 2000 when my house was built, we used 90-pound felt as the laminate, the vapor, the water barrier.
Right.
And that's a brittle tar paper, basically, not rubberized, just tar paper. And then concrete tile sits on top of that and expands and contracts with heat and cool and wind and rain and water getting underneath. And after 20 years of doing that, it gets brittle.
Right.
So I've had a couple repair. I probably spent $10,000 in the last couple of years on repairing my roof because I didn't want to put a new roof on.
Right.
And that was just wasted money. They told me it was wasted money when I did it, but I didn't believe them. You're really going to need a new roof because once you start leaking, you're going to continue to leak.
Right.
It's just going to come in new areas. So now I got to redo ceilings and do all those. I should have just put a new roof on it a couple of years ago. But anyway, now I'm 4 months backlogged. I was talking to my neighbors last night. I was putting lights out and they're getting a new roof too. My whole neighborhood. When I talked to one of my neighbors who's a committee member on the architectural committee, they said, we're getting like three requests a week for new roofs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a 30-year-old neighborhood. So all the roofs are going. It's just the way it works, right? And they're 2 months ahead of me, so they should get their roof next month, and I'm about 3 months behind them. So, but it's crazy. So that's my point. You're not, if this isn't addressed preventative maintenance up front, you're not just going to call a roofer and get a roof next week.
Right.
Not a tile roof anyway. Now you're 4 months out. You're going to push closing out for 4 months, or what are you going to do with the insurance for a leaky roof?
Tough. That's a tough scenario there.
It is a tough scenario. It's real stuff. All right. So insurance is something I want you to pay heavy attention to. This one, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to this. It's an agent of ours. They are headed to closing. It's a cash closing. It's over $1 million. It's supposed to close last Friday. The title company gave the buyer the wire number Thursday morning around 11 o'clock. The buyer could not get to the bank on Thursday. They went Friday morning and they wired the balance 900 and something thousand bucks. This is a light bulb. Light bulb. If you're wiring $900,000, do you think they might put some extra steps in there? They did. So the wire did not arrive on Friday like it should have. If you wired money Friday morning, it should be there Friday afternoon.
Mhm.
But this bank put extra safety protocols in place and it didn't arrive on Friday. And what's Saturday?
Non-banking day.
Non-banking day. So it
Yeah.
shows up on Monday. So the seller, this lot was $1.6 million. We got them down to $1 million, $1.1 million. Seller's pissed. The buyer now defaulted. He was supposed to close on Friday. He didn't close on Friday. Is he in default? He wired the money on Friday.
If he didn't close and fund on Friday, he's in breach of contract.
He said breach of contract, collected funds,
Mhm.
right? Under FAR 5, collected funds is ambiguous a little bit. In FAR 6, collected funds is when the title company gets the money, you're
Yeah.
closed. So we don't have that distinction. But the buyer sent proof that he sent the wire on Friday. So whose fault is it now? The title
The
company for
buyer's.
sending it too late, the buyer for not sending the day he got it?
The contract is between the buyer and the seller.
Correct.
So it's the buyer's fault. Doesn't matter if the title company didn't receive it. That's something, it doesn't matter if the bank has a delay. It's always between the buyer and the seller. And therefore it's going to be the buyer that is in breach, not anyone else.
Brian is a former banker. He says the banker and the branch manager could have gotten the wire delivered in time. There's forms and procedures to speed it along. Yes, but that takes,
Preventative maintenance. Brian, well done. You
Yeah.
had a conversation with the guy.
yeah, it takes communication saying, hey, I need this money to land in here by today.
Mhm.
So verify it's in my account, verify it's my money, verify it's going to XYZ title and get it done. Right?
Yeah,
But those conversations weren't had.
There's so many different like even on Thursday, the buyer's agent could have had a conversation saying, okay, do you have an idea of the money that we'll have to send? And if there's an overage, then you can give it back to us. That's an easy conversation to have as well. And therefore, you know that it was sent on Thursday, received on Friday. You talk, and I'm always calling the bank. I mean, I'm not calling the bank, but I am encouraging everyone to call the bank. We're in a high, it's like an epidemic with fraud in Florida.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Even more now than ever.
There's so many email spoofs, there's so many hacks, there's so many hack attempts. And so just, the construction saying, measure twice, cut once, preventative maintenance, right? Having that conversation, making sure that the bank has the proper wire instructions. You make the call before you send the money. That's almost $1 million. Are you kidding me? Hey, there's so many different red flags on this. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
But having that conversation, making sure that it's received, Brian's right, man. Having that conversation with the bank manager and just making it aware. All the players in the banking system, we're sending $1 million. Everyone needs to be aware. And it needs to be received by this date. Everyone needs to be aware. Help us out. That's preventative maintenance. It's a simple conversation. And
Brenda
in just
said-
30 seconds, we talked about it. That was how difficult it was.
Good. Brenda said, should have made the wire one day before. My buyer is making the wire today. We close on Monday. Smart, Brenda. Friday's just a tough day, guys. It is. Neil says, unfortunate, but buyer is responsible. Yes. Yes, you have to say something. Buyer should have wired Wednesday if he was too busy Thursday. He didn't have the number. So it's kind of the telecom, but to Otis's point, send more.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come close enough.
Yeah. Send an extra $150, 100, 200. Hey, it's $1 million. I'll send an extra $500. You just cut me a check and we're cool.
Right.
It's not hard, right? You're talking
John,
about $1 million.
In this case, it's a cash deal, so CFPB has nothing. The Consumer Finance Protection Bureau is for finance transactions. It's a cash transaction, so there's no CFPB delay.
Right.
You give the banker something to do. It's slow right now in the banks. Brenda, I always get wire instructions before the Alta. Yeah, for sure. But you should know what the number is, but you can always send more. They'll cut your check back.
That's right. The title company can't keep a penny more. They have to balance out.
Yeah. But that takes leadership. And you guys, this is your master's degree in real estate right now, right? This is seasoned problems being passed on to some of you very new, some of you not too new, but you're getting the experience of a lot, right? I don't know what's going to happen here. Because once again, well, we're going to sue. So the seller says, look, you failed to close. I'm not closing. Buyer says, screw you. It's not my fault. Somebody else's fault, right? Oh, nice little image there.
Yeah.
So now what? Title company says, oh, escrow dispute. I'm going to sit on this money, which is a hefty deposit.
And
Seller
then-
really can't sell the property to anybody else because it's got a lien on it. Or if the buyer's any good, he's going to hire a lawyer who's going to put a lien on the property. So now you're sitting there. Now you got to arbitrate it. And then you got this hormonal judge who may be in a good mood, may not be in a good mood, and say this is just punishment, or you waited one business day and you want to cancel a deal for that severity of a problem? No, I rule buyer gets the house, the property. Or the judge says, sorry, the contract is contract and you didn't close on time. Next.
And if we
Did
consider
they take their Prozac today or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
And think about it like this: if we consider ourselves professionals in an industry, this is something that is there. We already know it's there. Again, preventative maintenance. Have the conversation ahead of time. Make sure everyone knows what the expectations are, and follow it. Follow the guidelines of the contract, so that way you're not outside of it. Because now the buyer has to defend himself, and this is a silly mistake. It really is. This is just kind of a careless mistake. So many things could have been done that was very little effort to make sure this didn't happen.
yeah, but I don't have a black or a white answer for you.
I know.
Who's going to win in this case? The lawyers.
Seller.
The lawyers are going to win.
The lawyer. Oh yeah. Everyone loses when that happens.
Yeah, if you're going to prove a point, and it's going to take a year or two to get there,
Mm-hmm.
it just makes no sense. So everybody deflate your muscles and start doing your and just work things out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it sounds like a wimp. I've just been doing this for a long time and I haven't seen anybody win when it gets to that point. Okay. We got some more here before we get to our main topic. What is this one?
Brenda,
Oh.
was a cash deal. Yeah.
Talk about preventative maintenance. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. Joe shared this addendum that an agent attached to a contract of his. Make it a little bigger for y'all. I know it's hard when you're watching on an iPhone or smartphone. Seller and buyer agree that this contract is not contingent on an appraisal. Purchaser shall proceed with this contract without regard to the appraisal of the property. In the event that the appraisal reduces the amount of financing available from the lender, the purchaser shall tender additional cash funds up to the listing amount at closing. Is that preventative maintenance?
It is.
I'm just telling you right now, guys, the clearer you can be now. And if my buyer can't do this, don't write the friggin' deal or negotiate, right? Because let's say you sign this, go through the effort, do the dot loop and all that stuff, and then cancel 7 days later. What good does that do?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I look at this, the sellers might be leaving money on the table with this because it says cash funds up to the listing amount, not the purchase amount.
Right.
And if they were to pay over, they may get a great deal on there, but again, that's the sellers and the seller's agent putting that together. They already did some measures of preventative maintenance, so they may have already had that conversation.
Brenda said, is that not practicing law? No, we're just negotiating a contract. Brian, former banker, from experience, I'd recommend that any wire more than 500,000 should be disclosed beforehand to your banker so they can get their forms in line and security questions answered ahead of time.
Hey, that's preventative maintenance, Brian. What are you doing over there?
Right.
That's great, man. I love that.
I got one more. Well, we're going to kill that horse in a minute, but oh, this is just fun stuff for me. So Allie is a girl in the Philippines who we've hired to make phone calls for us. and she's calling absentee owners. And she's burned through Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, and now she's calling Manatee County. And she reached somebody yesterday, and a retired guy in Anna Maria Island, super nice, called, acted like an asshole. You know, she kind of led them to believe that we're going to make an offer, because we do have investors in our office that will buy, but they won't buy up to $1 million. So this guy lives in Illinois, and he owns a duplex in Anna Maria Island. So he wanted to talk to me and say, look, I'm interested in selling, but only if I get $1 million. So he called the office, and Rosa passed him to me because he wanted to talk to the broker. And I'm going, oh shit, do I want to get involved in this? So I called the guy, Mr. Maurer. And look, you know, I said, look, I hired somebody to call people that have extra real estate to see if they were remotely interested in selling it. And if you are, I would like to get an agent to get you a market analysis, and we can discuss what your options are. Okay, well, I'm not selling for less than $1 million. So I start talking to him, and it's a duplex. He's got a 3-3, a 3-2 with a pool on one half and a 1-1 on the other half. He's renting the 1-1 long-term for $1,250 a month. He is leaving money all over the freaking table. And then his 3-2 with a pool duplex in Anna Maria Island, like a block from the beach. He's thinking he can get $1,000 a week. I'm thinking he can get $2,500 a week.
Mhm.
So I gave it to one of our agents yesterday who's going to research it. We're going to run it through a property management company, see what the vacation rental targets are. This guy might be able to get more than $1 million for it. So that's my point, right? If you reach out, all we did was go to Remine and pull the people like we asked you to do, and they're not doing it. So we hired a girl to do it, and she's setting 1 or 2 appointments a week. But she's calling from the Philippines at 3 o'clock in the morning their time, which is 3 o'clock in the afternoon our time. And she's doing it. She's making calls. And then it just engages in the conversation. What's going to happen with it? I don't know. But by the end of our conversation, he knew I was not some slimy real estate broker just trying to make a buck. I'm trying to help him do what he wants to do, which he's not coming down here much anymore. But he is coming down for Christmas.
I like that story. It's a good story.
Well, it's the same thing, right? We're asking you guys to do it. It's just, you got to talk. And that's what Chris was
with Remine. Yeah, and with Remine, it gives you so many options. I'm the one that pulled that list, and you can pull out a CSV file, dump it in. Now you have MoxieWorks. So you can start playing with the CSV file in MoxieWorks as it grows and evolves, and really have fun with it. I was talking to an agent yesterday that's going to start doing videos. And
Good idea. You're frozen. Yeah, you're frozen big time. Yes, that area does have older homes. I asked him about the condition of the house. He says in great shape on there all the time. Han Solo. I've noticed that a lot of people I talk to on the phone think I'm trying to make an offer myself, and then I have to explain otherwise. That's exactly what happened. I'm going to talk to Jeff about the script we're using with Allie, because he was under the impression we're doing that. So Josiah, I'll watch it, let Otis back in a minute. That's a great example of why we want to record ourselves when we're having our conversations, because we need to hear what's going on. There's something in our language that's not working. LMNOP, he's not here yet. Yeah, so I don't know exactly what he's thinking. But, Allie is not knowing the price ranges, which she's calling on either. So I did have a meeting with another company yesterday that'll buy up to $750,000. So those things are going to change in our favor pretty soon. Panelists, home attendees. We lost Otis. Okay. I've got 3 more topics here. Backups, Anna Maria referral we just talked about. That's my to-do list for today. That's that. The last thing I just wanted to hit on the contract topics before we move on is backups. There's so much negotiation going on back and forth. it's so powerful when you can sit back and say, there he is. I appreciate you asking for more than you're entitled to, but I think we'll just accept our backup offer. They lose all their leverage. Welcome back, Otis.
Yeah, sorry about that. Preventative maintenance. I need to look for a new internet company. The video is disabled, so I can't get on just yet.
Do I need to do something?
It is saying you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it.
You're good. I didn't even let you back in. You came in back on your own. I just made you a co-host again. You should be good.
Okay. And I'm on my phone now. So one of the things I did do with preventative maintenance, I made sure I had another piece of technology around just in case my internet went down.
Mike, the answer to that technically yes. But if you do record, the question was, if I'm recording my conversation, do I need to tell them they're being recorded? If you ever intend to use it against them, yes. But it's just for your own trading purposes. I would not worry about that. You just record the conversation. You gotta meet one of them, okay? Because yeah, we're not gonna it's not admissible in court if it's not disclosed, but you can certainly learn from it. Cool. All right, Otis, we're gonna jump into the critical date timeline.
Yes, and I went back to my laptop
to preventative maintenance. Go ahead, say it again.
I went back to my laptop, so if you could make me a co-host again, I'd appreciate it.
I could do that. You're in.
Hey, all right.
Okay, let's move this over a little bit.
I love this thing. This critical date timeline is something else.
It really is. This is the ultimate guide to preventative maintenance.
Oh,
We are enemies with the other side while we're negotiating. Once the deal's done, the deal's done. All we do is stick to the terms. So there is, I know some of you said, well, I don't want to tell them that, their period's coming up. Why not? We sold the house. We've agreed to the terms. All we got to do is close it now. So let's gently remind them, nudge them. Hey, this is going to happen. For this deal to go from A to B, these things have to happen.
mm-hmm.
Right? And the way this form is designed, which was emailed to all of you, is yellow is editable. Everything else is not. So you fill in seller's name, buyer's name. This is just cursory. You don't have to do it, but it's just nice, right? And then I would personally share this with the buyer's agent, the seller, and the buyer, and the seller's agent, whichever party, everybody. Hey, this is the deal. Oh, excuse me. Property address listing up. That's all simple. That if you can't do that, surrender your license today. Effective date. Look at your dot loop signature. That's going to be your effective date. The last one in there, right?
Yeah.
And the expected closing date is on line 53. So look at your contract. Line 53 is your closing date. Put these in. I'm going to make them up for today. 12/10/2021.
Yeah. There you go.
Enter. Boom. And then my close, some of the dates are featured from the effective date. So many days of the effective date. And then some are from the closing date. So the closing date is going to be January 20th, 2022. Now you got to start thinking date changes, guys, right? Enter. Now my critical date timeline is filled out for me. So let's talk about what's here. The escrow deposit is due. Pay attention, it's a yellow box, right? 3 days is the default, so we put 3 days in there. If you changed it to 1 or 5, then you'd have to change it because it's yellow. The additional deposit is due on day 10. When do we recommend additional deposits be due?
Ahead of day 10.
The day after the inspection period ends. So it's a 7-day inspection period, day 8. 10-day inspection period, day 11, right? So you can change that because it's yellow. Loan application due date. Loan application is due within 5 days, right? Of the effective date. So it puts a date in there because it's 5 days, but you'd have to change the 5 if you change that term in the contract. Loan approval due on January 10th, 30 days is the loan approval deadline. That's just default. But if you change the default, and let's talk about this, Otis, loan approval date. What do you typically write in for a buyer?
For the loan approval date, normally I have that conversation with the lender first to see where they truly are. And I like to have them almost all the way approved, where that way all we got to do is plug in an address, get the appraisal, and I know that we're going to be working quickly. Having said that, I'm also going to look at the calendar, because if the loan approval date, it falls on a weekend day, like on a Saturday or a Sunday or something like that, I want to make sure it's following on a day that's actually a business day that we can work on.
This
Those are the things that I
will
do.
do that for you. If I put in the wrong day and it happens to be on, see, it's on Wednesday, Monday, it's putting those in. This
Yeah,
one's on Saturday,
Yeah,
right? But that's not a critical date anyway.
I
But
got you.
if it was a critical date, it would show up as red. And it would say, check this out, error type of thing.
Right. But generally
But
30 days is a good.
I like the loan approval date to be at least 7 days before the closing date.
Yeah, I like that.
Because I don't want any surprises. I want to know everything's ready to go before my seller starts actually packing and loading the truck, which is kind. Inspection period ends. This was a 15-day inspection period. I think that's long for these days, but if I made this a 7-day inspection period, an 8-day inspection period, let's see what happens. 8-day inspection period is Monday, December 20th, but a 7-day inspection period is Friday, the 17th. Why did it do that?
There's a
Because the
glitch
inspection
there.
period fell on a weekend, so it moves to the next business day. So all these formulas calculate all that shit,
Mhm.
right? So 7 days is Friday, 8 days is Monday,
I love
because
it.
it falls on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, or a national legal holiday. And if you scroll down, you just don't need to know this, but all the holidays are plugged in here as a reference to the formulas in the guide of the Excel spreadsheet. So if it falls on a January 1st or January 17th, let's make this, well, whatever. If it falls on the 17th, which is what day was that?
Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day, it would move it to the next business day automatically for you. Pretty cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all you do. You plug in, make sure these dates are proper in the contract, fill in the blanks, and you're good to go. Now let's talk about this. Loan approval. 30 days of default, and which we made it up here. So that's the buyer's job. Buyer to notify seller of written loan approval or declination, 30 days. Title evidence. Line 172 and 176. Seller to deliver title commitment to buyer by Tuesday, January 4th, 15 days prior to the closing. Seller to deliver existing title to the buyer. That's within so many days of contract, within 5 days of contract, right? That's what the contract says. Nobody does it, but the contract says if the seller has a current title policy, they should give it to the buyer within 5 days of the effective date,
Mhm.
right? It does say that.
It
Is
does.
it a breach of contract? Yeah, it's a breach of contract. You're going to sue over it? No, but it's a breach of contract. Survey. Surveyor performs a survey no later than Tuesday, the 18th, and seller delivers the existing survey to the buyer no later than Wednesday, December 15th, because the seller has to deliver a copy. So as a good agent, Otis, preventative maintenance, if you know the contract's going to have the seller provide the title commitment and the survey to a buyer, what might you ask at time of listing?
If they have copies of that,
Yeah,
the survey and the current policy.
smart, right? And this whole thing takes no time to go through. Flood insurance, buyer to verify flood insurance eligibility and right to cancel. There it is. But I don't want to call that out to their attention. It's in the frigging contract, guys,
Mhm.
right? Call it out. You got 20 days. Especially with all the newbies in real estate right now. That may
Yeah, I
not.
know we have a lot of agents that are holding deals together on both sides.
Yeah. It's our job. Home inspection. Buyer inspector conducts the home inspection, provide inspection results to seller within 8 days. This is for a regular contract. Notice here, FAR bar 6, as is 6, 2 worksheets. So make sure this is the regular contract we're working on here, but the as is different. It's much shorter. Okay. Seller to provide cost of WDO repairs within 10 days. Seller, if unable to complete the repairs by closing, then escrow 125% of estimated cost. That's what the contract says, right? In the regular contract. So you got a WDO inspection, you got a home inspection, you got a permit inspection, you got a walkthrough inspection. All these dates are laid out for you here. And then you got these potential closing delays, which I think is important to let them know. You got to 7 days, this FAR bar 6, due to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, up to 7 days after force majeure, but not more than 30 days beyond closing date, up to 10 days if final permit inspection is delayed, and up to 5 days if seller fails to timely deliver a title commitment to the buyer. Right? That's it. Automatic. Why you wouldn't, I know those of you that are using transaction coordinators are doing this for you. And then they're putting you calendar reminders in. That's what I would be doing. Spend the 4 minutes to fill out this deal sheet, which is emailed to you on Monday or Tuesday. And that's that. Chats. This is the best thing since sliced bread. Can this be used as proof of dates in regards to escrow being lost? I think this is evidence that would work in your favor. Look, Your Honor, I even told the buyer, I'm the listing broker. I gave the buyer a sheet of paper reminding them that their friggin' escrow was due on the 4th, and they didn't do it. That's going to weigh heavily on the judge to say, come on, dude, right? Thank you for the form. Best thing sliced bread. Did effective date change in recent contract, or is it still when delivered? It's still when delivered. Birthday on a Thursday. Birthdays are not national legal holidays unless you're Martin Luther King. Craig, when you put the amount of the escrow in, the date appears. Oh, good. Thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, any no banking day would be a national federal holiday. Oh, your birthday's on Thursday. Okay. So not signed date, but delivered date. It's signed and delivered. Yeah, you can't just sign and not give it to them. Oh, tricked you. I signed it last week, but I didn't give it to this week. So the effective date's last week. That doesn't cut the mustard.
On that one, there's going to be a level of preventative maintenance if you're doing a contract at the end of the night and it's like 11 something. Because I know some of our agents have done that. Make sure it's delivered before midnight. So that way it doesn't, there's ambiguity in that one right there.
And then this form opens up negotiation too. You know, if I send it to you, Otis, and you say, hey, Greg, wait a minute, I don't agree that the effective date is the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then let's just agree when it is, right?
Yeah, talk about it.
Make it the 9th, make it the 11th. I don't care. Just let's agree on what it is. Because it could be gray, right? But this will at least call it out. So I think that's it. It's 9:30 already. Holy cow, this went fast. But preventative maintenance.
Preventative maintenance makes life so much easier. Keeps it simple.
Signed late on Friday, sent to listing agent on Saturday, but blacked out already. But listing it doesn't open till noon Monday. Now what? You sent it.
Yeah, all you need is a receipt showing you sent it. That's
Yeah.
all you need.
They're responsible
It's
for.
kind of like our disclosures. You know, not everyone wants to sign a disclosure, but as long as we have proof that we sent it and we disclosed it, so like the affiliated business disclosure, I've had some people not quite understand it. Well, we sent it to you. We're just letting you know our owners of Century 21 own other companies too. We have to disclose that they own other companies. You don't want to sign it, that's fine. We have proof that it's been there. In dot loop, C21 does their preventative maintenance by making sure that we have receipt in dot loop that it's been sent. Preventative maintenance is a brokerage. We're there.
Yep, I love it. Preventative maintenance. That's our topic for today. Cool, guys. It's Friday. Hey, give us a little break this afternoon. We're taking the staff to Topgolf. We haven't seen them in for a long time, a lot of them as a group. So from 12 to 3, we're going to be kind of playing around. So try to hold the problems to a minimum from 12 to 3. We'll be back with you in 3 of 1.
Alcohol. No, it's
Yeah, there
good.
might be some following too. So who knows? But that'll be fun.
Hey, you guys have a great day. Thanks, Craig. I really appreciate this, but
Thanks.
this is fun.
Happy Friday, guys.
Take care.